Well, hello, that's me again. Today is August 18, 2025. It is Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. And what you see in the beginning are actually arrivals of all kinds of the long-range fires by Russians against the, well, it's SOCAR. SOCAR is the main oil and other byproduct company in Azerbaijan. And if you take a look at the Baku, the beautiful city. I was born there. It's magnificent. You can see yourself, obviously, that those three skyscrapers, they are called Sakar Towers, and they are beautiful. They have to actually represent the, tongues of fire, if you wish, of flames. And you may ask, why would Russians go and do those things? Supposedly Azerbaijan and Russia were supposed to be their allies. And they were, to a certain degree, until people in London, who actually controlled money of the Aliyev's clan, started to tell Mr. Aliyev to do some stupid things against Russia. This is how London and United Kingdom, well, can do things today. And Mr. Aliyev started to, do very unpleasant things towards Russia. As the result, Russians are not only just, well, they basically destroyed what is called diaspora. In reality, it wasn't the diaspora. I mean, there are many absolutely law-abiding, wonderful people of Azeri descent living and working in Russia. They are, some of them are citizens of Russia, and they are, just patriots, and no doubt about it, that they are proper citizens. But there is certainly, as usually the case with many diasporas, diasporas are generally nothing more than the extended definition of the organized crime groups. And Russians started demolishing Azerbaijani, diaspora in Russia. And guess what? A reaction immediately followed, and it will continue. But the point is that Azerbaijan obviously can try to do whatever it wants. Russians do not care. They control completely Caspian Sea, and they control completely their any kind of the deliveries of the Azerbaijani, let's say, assistance to Ukraine. And here it is in Odessa. They just blew up all those Sakar, so to speak, facilities, and this is just a signal to Mr. Aliyev to behave himself, or otherwise he can go to London and beg for his clan's money back. He's not a stupid man, obviously, make no mistake, but there are things. There is Russian constitution. Russia is a country of laws, and yeah, no organized crime groups, for example, like Azeri, controlling very much bunch of the wholesale produce markets in Russia. Not anymore. They will not. And just everybody will have their regular competitive access to those markets. It's just one of those things. And again, I want to stress, I'm not talking about Azerbaijanis as people, and actually, generally, Azeris not a bad people at all. I mean, this is a fairly decent people. But politics, that's what is happening. And the morons in London, because they are morons, they really still believe that they can somehow hurt Russia by, creating the issues along Russia's border. You cannot teach those people. You cannot teach those average graduates of all those humanities degree, meals from Oxford or whatever else there. But it is what it is. So the arrivals continue. Now, why I go at it, you can see yourself. This is clear Russian trolling, and this is M113. Actually near the town of Orekhovo, and Russians just trolled it. They put this M113, and as you can see yourself, it has all kinds of the defense from all kinds of the standoff weapons, and just funny thing. But this is what the title of this whole video is about. Unplug yourself from those, tear out those electrodes or whatever, which are in your mind, because as I constantly preach this, it's gospel if you wish. Don't read those mainstream media news, because, and even what comes out of the White House, you have to take it really with a huge grain of salt, because otherwise you will be completely confused. And especially after the event, which was an important event, make no mistake, a meeting of Vladimir Putin and President Trump in Alaska, and of course this media circus and the complete madhouse in media and among pundits, who are people usually without any specific skills. They never held a real job in their life, and they are full of BS. And so as a result, what do we have? I'll just give you an example. If you listen to Mr. Witkoff, and Mr. Witkoff was going around and giving the interviews all over the place. And here's one of the interviews to CNN. And listen to it.
Trump called this an extremely productive meeting and said many points were agreed to. You were in the room. Can you give us 2 specific points that were agreed to?
We agreed, Jake. First of all, thank you for having me, and good morning. We agreed to robust security guarantees that I would describe as game-changing. We didn't think that we were anywhere close to agreeing to Article 5 protection from the United States, in legislative enshrinement within the Russian Federation, not to go after any other territory when the peace deal is codified, legislative enshrinement in the Russian Federation, not to go after any other European countries and violate their sovereignty. So we agreed to, there was plenty more.
Here's what President Trump said going into the meeting.
But again, you cannot change the nature of the cretins from the establishment media in the United States and elsewhere. And these are sick people. But truth is, in order for anybody, hoi polloi, every Joe on the street, to understand what is this all about, I don't know. He has to have basically the database, which is similar to the Grok, which gathers all internet information. For some idiots call it artificial intelligence. It is not, and not even close, and never was, and never will be. But it is, it's definitely the kind of the organizer, which is called neural network. And you have to have this database to even be able to develop any kind of sane conclusion on whatever is being spewed by, American media class. They are pundit class. They are utterly corrupt. Normal people do not go to work there, and I already stated many times. I will repeat it as many times as necessary. So what you have a bunch of cretins who have no morality, integrity, or humanity in them, and many of them are war criminals, which will continue to spin things. But there is a little bit of indication that actually Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin actually not cheated, outplayed a little bit of the bunch of the neocons and Israeli forsters and Israeli government, which controls U.S. government. I mean, United States, America, this is you. You are not a sovereign country. I live and I am citizen of not a sovereign country. So it is controlled by Israel. It is controlled by fanatics from the Christian Zionist cabal which exists in the United States. And yes, United States, you lost your sovereignty. But so you still have to do something about it, and you still have to somehow try to, promote the interest of the regular Americans, majority of them, which of course, being hurt economically. And many people do not understand. United States went completely bankrupt over the war in Ukraine, and now, supporting Israel. So what is then we're talking about here? Well, we have Mr. Trump. So, and Mr. Trump, obviously, good Lord, here it is. Here are his Truth Social thing, this like, Ukraine must be willing to lose some territory to Russia, otherwise the longer war goes on and they will keep losing even more land. Yes, this is correct estimate, but again, Russians, as I already explained to you in my previous video, go back and look up my video on the strategy and the territory as a necessary evil. You will understand what I'm talking about. Evidently, Donald Trump suddenly has some kind of the strategic insight in him. And so he talks about this, as you can see yourself, that President Zelensky of Ukraine can end war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. Remember how it started? No getting back, Obama given Crimea. Okay, whatever. No going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change. So yeah, I mean, this is essentially all kinds of the basically demands which Russia's provided, for the United States. Over the head of Ukrainians, because obviously Ukraine is a puppet. But even Fox News, and these are fanatical people there too, that Trump backs Putin proposal for Russia to take full control of Donbas region in Ukraine. Trump reversed position on a ceasefire and now leans more toward a peace agreement after Putin talks. So yeah, I mean, that's what Witkoff was talking about, and this is what it has to be constantly delivered, so to speak, and explained to the majority of the Western public, which actually tries to get into understanding of the conflict, and they will be completely confused if it's not explained to them that some small parts of Donbass which are still not liberated, primarily Donetsk Oblast, which is getting there, and of course Zaporozhye and Kherson city being now completely evacuated as we speak. That means you know what is coming. The question is that those four regions, they held their voting, their plebiscite, so to speak, and they voted for joining Russia, and it was enshrined into Russian constitution, and the borders of those regions are pure administrative borders on the moment of the collapse of the Soviet, or dissolution of the Soviet Union. So it doesn't matter what Ukraine, United States, or their aliens from planet Zoltar want, no matter how they want to spin it, Ukraine either leaves, whatever they're left of the armed forces of Ukraine, they either leave those areas or they will be all killed there. Simple as that. Russians are not really into this business of the bloodshed just for the sake of the bloodshed. No, everything has to follow some kind of the political objectives, because winning of the war is defined not by how many big mouth, I was in Afghanistan, no. The war is defined, the winning in the war is defined how you approach or you achieve political objectives of war. That is why wars are won not on the tactical level, they are won on the operational and strategic one. And strategic being, meaning obviously strategic military. There is obviously strategy which is above it, which is called the grand strategy, which is the strategy of the state, the strategy of the government. And it's not going to be Russian rah-rah. United States is not even in the same league with strategy, as the Russians are. And there is no even comparison. It's completely different leagues, and it's like NHL and some local league around Toronto where the juniors play. This is how different it is. This is how dramatically different in terms of class and foresight those strategic thoughts and strategic schools are. And as Mr. Douglas McGregor correctly stated, and yeah, you can see yourself, this is, well, what can I say? Let's not forget the important detail. The Ukraine war against Russia is a Washington proxy war against Russia. The war has been lost. It's time to make peace. Absolutely. And the question was always, and I repeat it again, ad nauseam, over and over again. Alaska was probably the last off-ramp for Trump administration and for the United States. Will the United States take it? Well, we'll see. Today, obviously, we're going to be a lot of hustle in Washington. All kinds of those losers from this organization are coming in together with Mr. Zelensky. As you can see yourself, yeah, that's the new flag of the European Union, and good riddance. This is where they all are going, and as you can see yourself, the Guardian says, oh yeah, UK Starmer ready to back Ukraine peace deal without ceasefire as precondition. Yeah, sure, as if UK has any say in it, except for the, doing the terrorism against Russian civilians. But other than that, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, spokesperson, has been speaking to the media in the last half hour, suggesting that UK would back a Ukraine peace deal without a ceasefire as a precondition. Okay, sure. Yeah. Do they have any options? No. What is European Union militarily there? Nobody's there. Pathetic bunch of the creeps. And so that's what is going to be happening. For example, Ukraine, being desperate of the situation on the front, they basically decided to bomb, pipeline Druzhba, which just means friendship. And Moscow reacts to Ukrainian attack on key oil pipeline. The attack on pipeline delivering Russian oil to Hungary is proof that there are no boundaries in the malign activities of the Kiev regime. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has stated. Earlier on Monday, Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó said that the oil being supplied to his country had run dry after Ukraine targeted the Druzhba pipeline system. Szijjártó suggested that the outrageous attack was an attempt by Kiev and its supporters in Brussels to drag Budapest, which has maintained its neutrality, into the conflict. Well, the only dragging of Budapest into this conflict will be when the time will come to partition Ukraine, especially Western Ukraine. That's when the Hungarian army has to be ready to take control of the borders of the Hungarian enclave in Carpathian Mountains, which are the part of the Western Ukraine now. So that's the only thing. But that's a terrorist regime. Is EU terrorist? Absolutely. They are people who, as I already stated, including the governments of those countries, they are militarily and politically impotent. They are objects, not subject of anything. And as the result, they resort themselves to the weapon of the weak. What is the weapon of the weak? Terrorism. And simple as that. And this is their, is essentially military tourism. Everybody knows it. And so that's what we have. That's what we observe now. If you take a look attentively at the map of the Druzhba pipeline, this is taken from the Wikipedia, you can see yourself where those lines are running through. And you can take a look at Hungary, and how it borders, by the way, this region where there is the Hungarian enclave in Western Ukraine. And you can see yourself the pipeline running there. So I don't know where did they blew it up, but did they blow it up? But somewhere. So anyhow, Hungary now is without the oil. And what can I say? This is EU, the bunch of the terrorists, and yeah, these are who they are, really. So, and if you take a look at yesterday's tally, it's not today, but this is yesterday's tally. It's, the basically disposal of the remaining armed forces of Ukraine continues. The only thing which they can do is continue the UAVs attack on civilian targets and in Russia, in borderline regions, and they kill children sometimes even whole married couples. But that's what terrorism is. They cannot break through the Russian air defense, especially of the military objects. So there you go. Now, if you can take a look at what actually Sumy State University, evidently part of the buildings of this is now, the bunch of the so-called volunteers were stationed there. Well, Mr. Iskander visited them just and explained to them that they should go and rot in hell if they want to fight Russia. And this will continue. And I'm not going to be presenting you today the map of the hostility, so to speak, because it changes every day, and as I already stated many times, most of the time maps lag, from what people gather as the whatever available information, which is called obviously open source intelligence, and they place those things, both lines of combat contact, but again, it's always not 100%. It's not even 60%. But at least sometimes I have to present to you the dynamics of the territorial gains, which come inevitably when you kill those remnants of the armed forces of Ukraine. You take one town after another, and that's what happens. You gain territory. So, but I want to address a little bit of the issue of the, Russian Navy. And the reason I want to address it is because while we all talk about the politics and geopolitics and all this crazy stuff happening all over the world, Russians continue to build their navy. And I mean build it big time. So the latest news which we have today are that actually nuclear-powered cruiser Admiral Nahimov departed for the test trials. I mean, and this is what on completely under own its power. It will continue its tests, some in White Sea and then probably in Barents Sea, including most likely the launch and trying of all those weapon systems. And you can see yourself now, and I don't think that it is there any kind of the neural network or any kind of the Photoshop. No, this is how it looks now. As you can see yourself, it is under tow, and you can see immediately that it is absolutely modernized, because you can see a bunch of things there which immediately testify to the fact that it's a completely renewed cruiser. Admiral Nahimov, you can see yourself a massive mast and the array of the frigate system on the top, all kinds of the Podberezovik, all kinds of the S-400 things, and you can see yourself also the Panzer navalized versions and the new 130 millimeter gun on at the stern. So this is being under tow, but it's now under own power, and it carries all kinds of things, which of course we know Zircon is critical of them, because essentially single salvo of this cruiser can sink like, well, the whole navies of France, for example, and that's the most powerful combat ship in the world. And so now we have to go and take a look at what is happening more in Russia. It's, as you can see yourself, now Admiral Amelko. Admiral Amelko, which is the project 22350, a Gorshkov class frigate, is afloat now. It's going to be fitting out now at the pier, and well, next year it's going to go for the test trials. It's yet another frigate of the class of Gorshkov class. I use Wikipedia here because, remarkably, Wikipedia actually gives us the accurate information. So as you can see yourself, the Admiral Amelka, it's launched, yes, correct. It will be commissioned on the 2026, and there is a very interesting basically thing about Amelka. Look at this, and the variants. Go below this table, and there are variants which are, of course, original project 22350 was rather, trial version, but now, as you can see yourself, the Admiral Amelka has, unlike it is classic Gorshkov class, if you take a look at Gorshkov class, it has behind the artillery, behind the gun, it has 32 cells of the reduced air defense systems, which is controlled by the Parliament, which is the both combat information control system and very powerful radar. And you can see yourself 16 launchers, 16 MK S-14, 3 S-14 vertical launch systems, specifically for such missiles as Caliber, Onyx, and Zircon. Now, Amelka, unlike this, already has it actually, additional row in the front of its superstructure, and it's gonna go, and it's become 24 vertical launch systems. To launch all kinds of those nasty weapons. So as the result, you have 32 plus 24, 56. So it's going to have altogether 56 cells. And the newest version of the Admiral Gorshkov, which will be coming soon by 2027, 28, if you go take a look back to this description, which is surprisingly for the type of the Wikipedia, it will be called the Super Gorshkov, which is going to be, by the end of this decade, and it will have the displacement of 8,000 tons, and yeah, just 64 VLS cells specifically for the missiles. So it's going to be 64 plus 32. It's going to be 96 vertical launch systems altogether. So it's really not frigate. It's honestly, it's going to be more like a destroyer. And in terms of firepower, there's nothing out there which even compares to them. Just nothing. I mean, it's, yeah, if anybody wants to come here and tell me about, oh yeah, you know, Arleigh-Burke, destroyers, yeah, they are good ships, but they are obsolete, especially in terms of their strike capability. And in terms of anti-shipping capability, I mean, they do not even register with the harpoons against the 1,500 kilometer range Zircons and 1,000 kilometer range Onyx, which are all supersonic and hypersonic. So yeah, this is what is happening, and Russians are, making building those ships like there is no tomorrow. And it's not just that. There are all kinds of other vessels and ships which are being built for Russian Navy. And it's expanding really fast, and we may see, expansion continue with actually accelerated rate. And this is what we need to keep in mind when people talk about all this geopolitics and all this politics. Complex factors. Remember, I spoke about the resultant force. Complex factors influence things and influence decisions. For example, in this particular case with Mr. Trump and his administration to really fast organize, which was obviously prepared in advance, the meeting with President Putin. And yeah, we live in this world where there's a lot of kabuki theater, much of it provided by the actually Western establishment media, pundits, and basically mafias, ethnic, religious, and all kinds of other financial mafias, which for some reason present themselves as the democracy, which they are not. They are powers that be, which influence all those decisions. But against the background of all it, well, Russians are calm, they're just nonchalant and continue to do what they've been doing for the last 38 months. And it doesn't matter how they spin things. And as I have to agree with Colonel McGregor, the war is lost. It's just for the United States now to decide how it's going to quit it. Either as a complete loser, Russia will be gladly obliged, or maybe some people with some, remaining, integrity. Something reserved as the great power, But what can I say? I'm not the guy who is in Washington, and thankfully I'm not. I'm not talking about Washington, D.C., obviously. I am in the state of Washington. And yeah, some people already send me a message saying, sorry guys, condolences, Andrei, for you living near Seattle. Yeah, I know, but so what can I say? So guys, this is everything I wanted to tell you today. And as always in the end, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee too. So have a nice rest of the week, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.